listening to the Heartland Author Podcast. I am Aaron Apollo Camp. For this episode, I had the honor of interviewing Rodney Conway. Rodney is the author of the book Magic on a Dime, whose cover features an image of the Canadian 10-cent or dime coin. Magic on a Dime's story incorporates elements of magical realism and creative limbo. I'm here with Rodney Conway, who is the author of the book Magic on a Dime. Rodney, welcome to the Heartland Author Podcast.
Oh, thank you. Nice to be here.
Feel free to introduce yourself to our listeners.
Okay. Well, you already know my name. I'm Rodney Conway. I'm an actor. I live outside of Vancouver in a town called Abbotsford in British Columbia. I also am a wine and spirit consultant. Basically, I work in a government liquor store and sell wine. But I'm also a writer now, I'm a grandpa. I have 2 sons and 6 grandkids. But yeah, no, I studied acting in New York with Sandy Meisner, William Esper, and Commedia dell'arte in California with Carlo Mazzoni Clemente. So yeah, that's me. That's me.
Now, without spoiling too much of your book, what is Magic on a Dime about?
Okay, it's about a guy named Sid who he's been restoring his boat for a year, lovingly restoring a boat, but he's afraid to sail. And so he's got this unfulfilled dream that he can't get the nerve to do. And he also has ideas of writing. He wakes up every night with these dreams that, wanting to tell stories, but they're unfulfilled also. Something happens to Sid. One morning he wakes up and looks out his window and, there's something out there. It's on his boat, and he has to face his greatest fears. Eventually, he faces it. He goes out to the boat, and that starts an adventure. And the adventure leads to him fulfilling his dreams. And it's about, and while he goes out to save other people on a voyage of I don't know, what do you call it? Saving? But it's an adventure, and it involves Moliere's actors and Italian comedy actors and sailors from World War II. And it's a mix of things that happen, and it involves a boat called the Blue Nose. And the Blue Nose is this little boat that you find on the Canadian dime. It's an amazing story in itself, and somehow they get that boat and use it to sail to fulfill their adventure. So it's a lot of fun. I don't know if I started out to make a point about fulfilling unfulfilled dreams, but that became a theme, and it's been a lot of fun. Yeah. So I hope I didn't give everything away. Yeah, that's it in a big nutshell.
Now, how and why did you decide on the title Magic on a Dime?
Okay. Well, on the Canadian dime is the Blue Nose. And at first, I had the people, we have to go save Moliere's actors. And they're on a boat, and that boat I had called The Forlorn Hope. Originally, I was going to call the book that, and then just before it published, I thought that's not a good choice, and so I thought I got to do something here, and then I thought about it, and where does the magic happen? And it happens on the boat, on the little boat that because his little boat he called it the Little Bluey, which he named it after the Blue Nose. And then at one point, they realize they need a bigger boat. And that's when he does this theater magic of the boat becomes the Blue Nose. And so then I thought, well, it happens on the Blue Nose, and the Blue Nose is on the Canadian dime. So Magic on a Dime. That's how I got it.
Yeah, the I find it interesting that a boat is featured on the Canadian 10-cent coin, which I did not know was also commonly called the dime. The American 10-cent coin's commonly called the dime as well, but we usually don't put uh, cool objects on our coins. They end up being we end up putting like landmarks and stuff on ours.
Yeah, well, it's the blue nose. It's yeah. I mean, some younger people now don't know what the blue nose is. So I tell them, I say, you got to know the story of the blue nose, because it was a famous. It was in Canadian history. It's an incredibly famous boat. It was a little schooner fishing boat that used to go out and sail fish on the Grand Banks, and then would come home, unload its fish, and go down to Boston and race all the big schooners, and it never lost a race. I mean, it's just this incredible story. So that's why it's on the Canadian dime, because it was a Canadian hero, this boat. So, oh, yeah.
The next question I have: how does the idea of creative limbo factor into magic on a dime, and why is it essential as a topic?
Well, it's essential to me. It was limbo has always been actually it was something that terrified me when I was younger. Uh, the thought of limbo, of not going anywhere, just stuck in some place where nothing's happening, and and uh, so in a sense, my character Sid was going through that, and then part of the story is based on the story of Moliere. I don't know who Moliere was, but Moliere was to France what Shakespeare is to England. He was their greatest playwright, and he had his own acting company. When Moliere died, I mean, France was all Catholic, but when Moliere died, the church was really against Moliere, so they said he can't be buried in holy ground. So there was a big kerfuffle over that. Even the king had to go and beg the Pope, and finally the Pope relented and said, "Okay, you can bury him in hallowed ground, but none of his actors." So to me, that means all those actors were doomed. They could never go to heaven. So they weren't so bad that they'd go to hell, but so they'd end up being stuck in limbo. That's who we're going to save. They're stuck in this limbo, which is, I mean, for an actor, that's the kiss of wow. I can't believe anything more nightmarish than that, to be stuck not doing anything. And for these guys, they're on a boat going nowhere. So that's who we go to save. And that's creative limbo. When you can't, and when you can't seem to, you want to do something, but you can't do anything. And my whole thing is I find a way to break out of that, to get creative. And in a sense, that's what this book did for me. And it does that for my characters. So does that make sense?
Yes. This might be the latest I've ever asked this question in an interview on the Heartland Author podcast, but is your book self published or traditionally published?
Self-published, because I had no idea what I was doing. I just
That's how I self published my first ebook about 4 years ago. I had no idea what I was. I mean, I was not in a good mental state when I wrote my first book. I'll be flatly honest there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. God, I'd love to have publishers listening. Oh, grab me! I'm ready. I'm, yeah. I mean, my dream is to not have to come up with the funds myself, but I just had to do it. I had to find somebody, and then I found someone who was interested, and so yeah, I've self-published it, but I'm so pleased just to be able to say I've got a Library of Congress number. I've published a book.
Now, do you plan on writing more books? Because I saw like your future works section of your website, and there wasn't anything listed there right now.
Well, I better start listing. I've got a couple ideas percolating. I've also written a full-length play that I haven't published. Again, it's this theme of rising up, but it's a comedy, and it's about cowboys. And so I've written that, and I actually did two presentations. One was I went up to a place called 100 Mile House in British Columbia, rented a hall, and had all these locals read this play with me to an audience of locals, and a couple of cowboys in there. I had somebody do cowboy music, and it was really successful. And then I did it at the Harrison Festival of the Arts, and yeah, I got a good feedback from that. But I just now I need to publish it, get someone to produce it, So, but yeah, so and I've got a couple other ideas now. I'm percolating, and so I'm even new with the podcasts, and I'm not the podcast with the website. So it's just like it's taken me a bit to like, okay, how do I edit? How do I figure this out? What am I doing? But I'm getting there. So you'll see some more results soon. You'll see things actually showing up on my web page. So, anyways, I can tell you, I was really new at this.
My next question is, you were trained as an actor. Did you ever have the opportunity to act in any movies or plays?
Yeah, I did. I've done a few plays. I've had small parts in different films. The last bigger one I did was with Halle Berry in Frankie and Alice. Unfortunately, they cut my speaking scene. You see me a lot in it. I was like, oh, but that's what happens to actors. You get cut. But I've done some TV shows. I've done I've got a short video on Vimeo called Cosmic that I'm in. It's a short movie that I had a lot of fun with. It's about a date that goes haywire. So it was just made a few years ago, but 4 years ago. So yeah, I mean, I audition all the time. Because I have a beard and white hair, I keep getting sent out for Santa parts. But I see myself as far more than that. I see, I'm trained in Shakespeare. I'm trained in comedy. I'm trained as an actor. So I'd love to do westerns. I'd love to do all kinds of things. I love acting. I just love it. But yeah. So I'm still active in the biz. I wish my resume was bigger, but again, it's tough being an actor.
Now,
Yeah.
in your spare time, you like to play your guitar, and you own a guitar. Is that correct?
Yes, I have two guitars now. Yeah.
Okay. What types of music do you like to play on your guitars?
Oh, man, I'm very eclectic with music, but I like more classic. Like I love Dylan. I really love Dylan. I like I like blues, but I mean, so I'm just touching in on blues. I like folk. I mean, hey, I was from the '60s, so I love rock. Uh, but yeah, but I sing more like I'd probably be more like a folk singer, like a James Taylor type singer. Uh, so yeah.
Now, for my last question, what are your favorite and least favorite aspects of living in British Columbia? And for my American audience, that was where the 2010 Winter Olympics was
That's
held.
right.
That's where Stephen Holcomb was the winning four-man bobsled driver for the United States.
Woohoo! Bobsled's awesome. It's a lovely place. It's a great, I mean, the mountains are absolutely gorgeous. Um, it I wish there was more theater in British Columbia, more theater that people would go to. I mean, the film industry is now coming into its own, really, here. Uh, for a long time, it was just basically a supplier of extras, which is no good if you're an actual actor, because you don't go into films to be an extra. You go into films to get roles. But I love it here. The people are very good. I mean, trying to deal with the smoke that we've had to deal with in a few years. That's pretty tough. There's a lot of rain here, so you end up with very good complexion in the winter. But no, it's. I like Canada. It is where I'm from. So I loved when I lived in the States. I absolutely adored New York, but I'm Canadian. So, but I don't know. I like living here. I wish, yeah, no, I like. I'm not going to go into government, but I do like our form of government. But I don't know. Yeah, I love it. And I like the fact that if I get sick, I won't lose my house, because we have good Medicare here. So, yeah.
Rodney, you were one of the most interesting guests I've ever had on this podcast, and I thank you for appearing on the Heartland Author podcast.
Oh, great. No, thank you. I've really enjoyed talking to you. Yeah. Hopefully more books will come out and we'll talk some more.
Rodney was a wonderful guest to interview. This is Aaron Apollo Camp reminding y'all to write your imagination. Bye for now. You can learn more about me and my book writing projects at campaaronapollo.wixsite.com/authoraac. You can follow me on Facebook at AuthorAAC and on Instagram at AACscribe. Copyright 2023, Aaron Apollo Camp, all rights reserved. This podcast episode is intended for the private listening of our audience. Any reuse or retransmission of this podcast episode without the express written consent of the podcast host is prohibited, except under fair use guidelines. Royalty-free music and sound effects obtained from https://www.zapsplat.com.